Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the review show on YouTube channel Rainey Toon Talk. Join us now. We have Ian and Craig. Ian, Craig, thank you very much for coming on tonight.
No problem, cheers for having me.
No problem, mate.
Excellent. Few little technical issues there. Luke's saying always late, lads. I think we've sorted it now, though, haven't we? Perfect. You've got to connect the right box.
Yes,
but yeah, again, all sorted. Lots to look forward to, kind of from going over the last couple of games and going forward as well. Starting with tonight, going back over the Palace draw in our first 1-0 win in the first against Southampton as well. Starting with the Crystal Palace and the Newcastle game. Starting with yourself, Craig. Obviously, the pictures come out on the Friday. Bruno running across the grass to catch the bus. I don't know if first it was just the jokes and the lads putting on because it looked like someone running for the school bus. But once you've seen that picture, did you think you could have a chance of starting even in the squad?
Yeah, do you know what? I didn't. David messaged me like a school kid, basically buzzing that he was in the squad. And I was thinking he can't be because the reaction that he had, obviously, in the previous game when he come off injured, you thought, oh, it's serious, that, you know, it's like something not he's going to be fully fit again within 5 days, whatever like that. So I just thought, you know, if anything, I thought he was going for the crack a bit like what Trippier was, you know, last year, and just supporting the team and just, you know, being a body there, basically. But the fact that he was there and obviously playing it, I was like, it's a miracle, that, you know, and he's kind of, now he's just picked up where he's left off, basically, you know. It's just, it gives you a boost because I think without him in the team, you know, he's a big miss as well, like, you know. So it was spot on that, to be fair, that with him getting on the bus and stuff, you know. But you just got to trust Eddie, didn't you? At the end of the day, I was thinking, is it a risk or not like that? But you know, I don't think he's the type that would have risked him, you know, if he was, you know, struggling or even just, you know, 75%. I don't think he would have done that, like, or he would have started him from the bench. So he clearly, obviously, was fully fit, and obviously he's been spot on with the 2 games he's played.
Definitely. And Ian, yourself, obviously, Bruno starts and it's unchanged lineup. Did you think Eddie Howe now, that's his, well, apart from obviously Anthony coming in now and Gordon, sorry, that could change things, but that's been his favoured 11 now for a few games now. Were you expecting any changes going to the Palace game?
Well, obviously, when you seen the injury before, I thought there was only going to be one substitution, and that was going to be whoever comes in. Probably we're all talking about Sir Maximan playing on the left-hand side and dropping Joe Linton back. But when I seen the picture, obviously Bruno going, I was looking for his little video montage and it never came. and I think it was clever. It was box clever from Eddie because he kept it dead under his hat because nobody knew if he was playing or not. Because obviously Patrick Vieira would have set up different if he knew definitely that he was playing. But getting back to your question about the starting 11, I think he trusts. Obviously, it starts from. I think it'll take a miracle for him to change that back 5. Obviously, with Pope. So that kind of picks itself. But like now I think we're not surprised if he feels the same side, but the way there's certain people are performing at the minute, you can see a couple of changes sneaking back into that trusted 11. But it's good changes to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And Craig, I mean, looking back at the game, 61% possession, 16 shots, 7 on target, almost 500 passes. I mean, watching on, I was probably the same as yourself. Were you expecting that goal just to come like it did against Fulham, or do you think there was a time where you thought, you know what, we actually run out of ideas here?
No, you know, it's good. It's obviously enjoyable being a Town fan now, isn't it? Like the way we're playing, and like I say, them stuff there, mate. Like obviously prior to Eddie Howe coming in, we had it for years where we've just literally sat back and just let teams dominate us. You know, we're taking the game to teams now, so I always feel we've got a goal in with. Basically, we've got a few people who can produce that. Maybe we're struggling a little bit at the minute, you know, to pop up for them goals. But it's good. And I just thought watching it, I definitely thought we could have nicked one. To be honest, I thought we dominated the game like totally. And you know, it's just the same good performances, and it's just lack. Well, it's like not just the Palace game, but prior to that, obviously Fulham have come late on. In other games, we're just lacking, just getting them goals basically. And I do think we're not far off someone's on the end of a hiding off. We're basically, I think we're going to, then chances that we are creating, you know, we're going to put a few away. You know, I think it's just, it's going to just probably a bit of confidence, you know, if anything. They're just probably getting a bit anxious, you know what I mean? They, God, like we're creating all this, but it's not happening, getting themselves a bit uptight. I feel like a bit probably looks like what Wilson's struggling with a bit, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's just not happening for him at the minute. He's probably just getting himself a bit forward, but I think it was frustrating, but you know, it's enjoyable to watch, man. You know, I love watching the Town at the minute, and just, you know, game after game, they're doing great, like.
Fantastic. Evening, Sean, and evening, Luke, as well. Ian, yourself, like you just mentioned there, the possession that we had, we passed it around the back, we switched in the play midfield, literally left to right all night. But at times we just missed that killer pass. I know a few people mentioned, was Bruno 100% fit? We just missed that little killer pass where it's split the defence in two sometimes, don't we?
See, with me, I think at times we're getting predictable to play against. And it doesn't make it like the substitutions is what we're making as well. We're only going in one direction, whether go down the sides or we seem to go up and down as a unit, as a three. And if Bruno's dead clever, and if he doesn't release them little balls inside, what other players don't see, I think we kind of struggle. And if you've noticed a lot, Callum Wilson of late he hasn't had anything to go at in behind, because teams are dropping deep. So he's playing with his back to goal quite a bit high up the pitch. So it's kind of, if it doesn't go through Bruno, because obviously you're not going to get them nice little passes off Joe Linton, and you're not Sean Longstaff, he does it in spits and spurts, but he hasn't got the quality of and the brains of Bruno. So we kind of struggle, because you'll tend to see that the games tend to always drift down our right-hand side. I know Joe Willock, he's tended to run from deep to get us miles up the pitch on that left-hand side, but on the right-hand side it's more productive and it's more structured, because you've always got the overlap of either Almiron or Trippier, and then the balls are coming in. But again, if you look percentage-wise of all the other games and stuff, it's kind of that way that we're playing. It's always dead productive down the right-hand side, and it's always that deep runner. Or it's the same when Saint-Maximin plays on that left-hand side. He picks the ball up from deep and runs. So it'd be nice just to kind of change it. And me and Luke were picking it up on the Fulham game when Isak came off the bench and he dropped into that 10 role, and it just kind of threw the other team off, and it didn't know whether to pick or whether to go, and that's how we ended up scoring against Fulham. And I think something like that against Crystal Palace, just to change things, because I think we went just again like for like, and it was predictable to play against, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, yes, it was a good point away from home, which I said it was going to be tricky, because they are a tough side down there. But I just think we were predictable to play against, as much as we had plenty possession, plenty chances. I know on another day we could have a few more, but if we just changed it up a little bit, like I said, if we could have been a little bit more creative through the middle, I think we could have won that game.
Definitely. I mean, Luke's mentioned there, he feels that we're too far one side. We offer so little down the left-hand side, where the point where Bruno just turns and looks out right. And he does a lot where he does turn around and he gives it to Almiron. Almiron thinks loads of space running it, but he's not right-footed, so he tries to cut inside. He passes back to Trippier, and it's just, it does happen a lot during the game. You do always see that type of play. And Craig, just yourself, I mean, we mentioned the chance that we had, and some key ones from yourself, Isaac, Wilson, Botman and Shaw, all great chances on the head. At some point in these bigger games as the season's going, we've got to put them chances away, don't we?
I know, definitely, mate. It's just obviously, you have a look at it, you know, and obviously we're up the top end of the table and stuff like that, not putting these chances away. That could cost us possibly getting into a Champions League spot come the end of the season, you know, and we've got to start taking, you know, and this is possibly, you know, where maybe, you know, the more signings, a bit more quality like that obviously, you know, putting them away and creating more chances, we'll get that. But we did have some good chances. I just felt like it was just nothing in them. Do you know what I mean? When we're thinking it was quite easy for the goalkeeper, and that really them chances, it wasn't really anything to it's tested them or anything like that. But like I say, honestly, I stand by it. I think another day we would have could have and should have scored a couple really there easily, you know, and the same obviously with the Southampton game as well.
Definitely. I mean, I know, Ian, we've mentioned this about every show that we've had on, I think, but the corners, the amount of balls and corners that we get in the box that just kept heading away, you would think now, hold on, right, we're not getting any chances, or if we are, it's a header at the back post, put back in the cross. But again, the second ball's headed away. We need to start taking more chances or just doing something different. I know Eddie Howe's trying to do little short balls, trying to play backwards. Something needs to change, doesn't it?
I know, do you know, you look at when you were lining up for corners, you think, we've got a chance here. Like some big lads, like Botman, Dan Byrne, Joe Linton. But, you know, it just didn't seem great attacking a ball, attacking-wise, do you know what I mean? Like, in the box, we're just... Defensively, they're not going to lose a header, basically. Like, but when attacking it, going to get that, we're just not getting it, you know. And it's quite surprising because I thought we'd get a lot of joy, to be honest, from corners looking at the start of the season. But so it's frustrating, like, you know. And obviously, we've got Trippier, who's got great quality, knocking set pieces and stuff like that. We should be utilising them like opportunities that we get from it, you know, basically. So. Some of it does probably need to be freshened up a bit or worked on anyways, you know, to see if we can try and get something from it, some end product, basically.
Definitely.
Going on your corners there as well, because we've picked up that many times, I've been watching quite a bit on the corners, and I know sometimes we try and bring that extra defender out, but I've noticed as well the likes of your Dan Burns and your Botmans are quite static and they're quite close to the goalkeeper. Right? And for a big side, I don't understand why they just don't clear the area and just attack it. Just let them attack it, because obviously we're great defenders in our own area. They seem to win nearly 95% of balls in the air because we're that big, because we're going on to either goal kicks or anything else, so they're going to attack it. And like I said the other show, the only man that gets on the end of it quite a bit, that's on the move constantly in that box, is Fab Shaw. You know, so let him do his bit on the move. But they like your Joe Lintons and your Dan Burns and Sven Botmans and that. I just believe if you clear that area, Trippier's ball, he'll put it on a plate for them. Just put it in that penalty spot and just let them attack it. Do something different, you know. If you've noticed, like I said, if you've noticed a lot of the are static and in that 6-yard huddle, where it's difficult because some of the times they're backpedaling and they're not getting a clear header on things. I think it's because they're quite a crowded area, you know. But definitely something to work on with corners. And like I've said from day one, we should be much more on scoring. Plenty more goals from corners the size of our side. How physical we are.
John Terry.
Yeah, John Terry used to score plenty from corners because he was aggressive. You know, all your top centre halves that are very aggressive will always score goals. We're not aggressive enough from corners.
Yeah, it's the same again. It's like it's that difference of kind of not scoring enough from that could cost for like opportunities to get into this Champions League spot that, you know, that we're lucky enough to be in at the minute. But like say, you mentioned John Terry there, won loads of medals, didn't he, for Chelsea and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, good teams do that. You know, they're obviously good in both boxes. You know, and kind of that's where at the minute we're just a bit lightweight in that sense. I would say we're just not putting enough into it. I would say, like, you know.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Luke's mentioned there. How do we blame? Think isn't going quite right for that corner goals, and I totally agree. And I just think that when I watch it from where I'm sitting as well, there's just too many people in and around the goalkeeper where the ball's going to come in, try to put the keeper off. You just need to forget about the goalkeeper, get in the edge of the box and get them runs, some front post, some back post straight down the middle, and it's so hard to pick up players that run all over, and you get your own goals from it as well, don't you?
I mean, when we played, we always used to just put one on the goalkeeper. We used to stand in front of him. Then the rest of them they never used to crowd an area in a 6-yard box. They were always beyond the penalty spot, and they would just all go and attack it. And you'd be quite successful at times if you're really determined to get on the end of it. Especially the quality of player that Trippier is. There should be no excuse from the ball coming in. So they've got every chance to get on the end of it and score goals.
Definitely. And Leon's just mentioned there. Leon, thank you very much for watching, mate. What do you think about Shelby? Obviously, there's rumours that he's going to Nottingham Forest. I mean, for myself, personally, I think it's a great move. We're starting to clear, not Deadwood, but like players who we just need to try to move on a bit now. The likes of Shelby, Mankio, Lewis. I mean, the list goes on. The players that we need to start pushing out now every window. So I think personally, and I think he's still out injured anyway, I think it'd be a great move for Shelby if he does leave, and for the club itself. I mean, starting with yourself, Ian, what's your thoughts on Shelby possibly leaving?
Well, At the start of the season, when we're seeing pre-season, I think it's the best I've seen physically.
Yeah.
How fit John Joe Shelby looked. And obviously got a bad injury. But we've done without him up to now, and I believe he's one of the highest earners at the club anyway. And he's 30-year-old, and I think if he triggers another 2 appearances, I think it is, it automatically gives him another contract extension, which at this present time I don't think Newcastle really want to do. But I think he's been reassured that he's going to get a 2.5-year contract. So the 30-year-old, it's a good move for him. But moving forward, we need to be definitely moving the likes of John Joe Shelby on. I mean, he's been around the club for a long time, and for the Newcastle to move forward, we really need to, like you said, the likes of Manquillo. They've been good servant to us. Don't get me wrong, but to move this club forward, we need to push these players on and bring better players in.
Yeah, do you agree with that one, Craig? Just one of many that we need to get rid of, isn't it?
No, I think he's been a good servant to the club, like Dave said. It's kind of, and it's a shame really what happened at the start of the season, because he was fit and he finished the season well last year, and he bought into what Eddie Howe was doing, and it's the most we've kind of probably seen him get around the pitch and stuff like that. And he would have probably played quite a few games, I bet, this season if he never got injured. But I agree with his loads obviously still in, where over time it's kind of we need to start developing with team basis. So these, it's like a stopgap really. Use them for when we've got them, and then we'll move them on basically. But looking at some of the games we've played, and obviously we just mentioned it before, like a bit of creativity in the midfield. I thought we could have done it with someone like him, in the midfield, because Wilson used to love the passes he used to put in behind the centre half and between the fullback. He's got great passing ability. For me, it's just always been about like getting around the pitch. But obviously, start to see anyone go who's obviously done well for the club and stuff like that, and been a good servant. But I think it's the right decision for like the club and for himself to move on. Like,
definitely. Just laughing at the Luke comment, Stephen Taylor dancing around the goalkeeper. I can just imagine we could get Dan Burn there doing the Dan Burn dance in front of the keeper. Like that should put him off a little bit. Definitely. And Leon's mentioned big issues if we lose someone like obviously Bruno injury, that we may lose more creativity. Hopefully, I think tomorrow's going to be a massive day in the transfer window. I know we played on Tuesday night, so I think that's going to make our end of window quite strange. Obviously playing on the night of those transfer window, but I think hopefully, I know there's rumours that Madison could possibly be on his way. Fingers crossed. I would love to see him coming in as well. Luke's mentioned I think we'll miss him, as you just mentioned there, Craig. The last 5 games have shown that a bit of creativity from him as well. But getting if we can place him, then it's a good move all around for myself. Luke's mentioned as well. Just getting back to yourself, Craig, now with the game against Crystal Palace, obviously social media. I know it's good and bad at times, but the mixed reactions after the game, I think, personally looking at it, I think because it was more frustration rather than anger, and it came across more like angry, especially on Twitter after the game. What was your thoughts on some of the comments?
Oh God, and obviously I need to stop following some people and stuff like that. The way they get on, it's just that. Just like people, you see someone like who just put things into context, like as if like, look what we're watching, for years and years prior to this, we're watching good football now. We're trying to do the right things. So encouragement. And I think it is frustration, the thing of not taking them chances, but for me, it's all about performances. I think, and it will till we get more quality players in. Then I think, right, we should be, doing that basically. But I think a lot of them, Almiron, Joe Linton, them two, like even Shaw, before Eddie Howe come, people would have been glad to see them out the door. Now he's getting them, producing like 7, 8, 9s, 10 out of 10 every week. They're consistent. They're not just having that one game. So I just think, we just need a reality check. Some people at times and just, try and think of the positives. And it is, of what we've got and the club at the minute. It's just amazing now. Like the buzz around the whole place is it's just class. I think it's just a lot of people are just they want to win all the time. And it's never going to be possible. It's kind of so it's kind of. Just one of them where people just need to, just go and have a cup of tea and that, slap them. This is on a dog or something like that, and then type some a bit different, you know. But nah, it's all good, man. It's a good thing to watch Newcastle at the minute. So it's for me, I'm just all positive, like.
See, Craig, we're on about if we lose Bruno, we're struggling. What he's just done about the lad's question there before. Do you know, like Craig said about them players there that want them out of the club not so long ago, but now obviously the regulars in the first team. If you're on about losing Bruno, can you imagine losing Joe Linton at the minute, the amount of miles and protection that he gives that back four? Now, nobody at our football club, mind, can do anything what he can off the ball. His attitudes, desire, what he does to win the ball back, and he's tidy with his feet as well, and his presence for such a big bloke as well. So to sort of replace someone like Joe Linton as well, I tell you, it's not so much Bruno as well. You know, you've got these players that now are constantly, like Craig says, constantly playing out of the skin just because they bought in Eddie Howe, what they're doing. And plus, the manager trusts these players, and that's what happens when the manager trusts these players that so-called people wanted them out the door not so long ago. They're now singing their names on the terraces.
Class, man. I think the only way we'll lose Joe Linton is for his suspension. Like he's a handful of times. Needs to reel that in a little bit, but I think that's the only time we'll lose him. But just finishing up on the game, Ian, getting back to yourself now, the Nick Pope save, the lad turns bang, it's flying in top corner. What a save. And I mean, it's not just that game, the couple of times when he's been called upon in the games that we've had, he's been fantastic this season, man, hasn't he?
I for one, when Nick Pope signed, I was over the moon. And obviously we had the Dubravka conversation and everything, but it goes to show that the confidence that the back four gets is because of Nick Pope, and the confidence that Nick Pope gets is because of the back four that's in front of him. And for him to say that it's just a normal routine save, that I just do that every day of the week, that just goes to show how confident the man is. But I mean, to do absolutely hardly anything through that game, to be called upon like that, just goes to show what an international goalkeeper he is, and we're lucky to have a top draw goalkeeper like Nick Pope. Because I think Dubravka wouldn't have saved that.
Yeah, stood and watched it.
I think he would have, because Pope is miles better than Dubravka, by the way. And he's, to be honest, I think he's getting better than anything else.
Not really good.
I think with him, I think he's been the best signing that he's made, to be honest, overall. You agree with, I think Dubravka never really commanded his box that well, you know, and coming out of crosses, I think he didn't really do it. He put under pressure where Nick Pope comes and claims them all, basically. And that, I didn't realise how good he was, to be honest. Now, even for a big, his hand, absolutely spot on, and gave us bang on. Like when you get a good goalkeeper, the confidence it breeds through the team's ridiculous. Like, you know, and he's been our best signing, you know, to be honest, throughout that he's done since he's been at the club. You know, obviously we've got Bruno and everyone loves him, but I think someone like an influence on the team and how well we're playing, a lot of it's down to him. And he's just absolutely top draw. He just doesn't use his feet as Pickford, and that's the modern day game. But for me, a goalkeeper is there to save a ball, like, you know, basically, and that's, no one does it better in the Premiership, I don't think, than that he does it.
And if you notice when you're sitting at the ground or even watching on the TV, you can hear him commanding his area.
Oh yes,
you know. So if your defenders are hearing that, and if you can hear it at the ground, it's just that some of the times just a shout like that puts defenders puts forwards off, because you think this big bugger's going to come straight through the back of me or whatever. You know what I mean? And that's what happens. And it is a tremendous goalkeeper, one of the best about, definitely.
Not really good. A couple of comments coming in, which I'll read out now because I know a few of them kind of linking to what we're going to speak about. Leon's asking, will we start going against West Ham next Saturday? Luke's not for him, but definitely off the bench, better option than Murphy, definitely. Possibly when Miggy gets tired. Leon agree with that, better than Murphy, but hopefully he doesn't keep ASM on the bench. Like I say, a good game from ASM last game. Luke's mentioned there, less positive than Craig. I think some players are good for mid-Prem and start 11 causing issues in some games, but not bad players, but not good enough to get over the hurdles of the flat. Back to, I think it was who we're playing. I think it might have been Crystal Palace, and literally I looked up, there was the full 10 players sitting across the box. I thought, there's not a chance we can get past these, never mind get the ball in the goal. on it as well. And Leon's mentioned there for Tuesday, would you start ASM and Isaac or keep the same team? Niall as well. Niall, thank you very much for watching. Big ups to yourself as well. Great channel. And Luke again, starting ASM and Isaac 2 games ago, to be honest. Yeah, I know you've had a few frustrations on Twitter with your shout outs as well, Luke. As well, and just mentioned there, did you get to see Crawl go against Linton's keeper about 2 foot shorter, but didn't duck out at all? Yeah, I've seen you comment about that. I've actually seen a couple of highlights, and he didn't look scared to get stuck in at all. So it'll be quite interesting to see how he gets on when he comes back down as well. But a lot of comments there to kind of go into what we're going to be chatting about very shortly as well. We're getting on to our next game, which was obviously the first leg, Southampton 0, Newcastle United 1. And I mean, I've spoken to yourselves over it, and I said I was confident we were going to go down there and win 3-0, and I've kind of already said in my video, we would have, should have, could have, with the amount of chances that we've had, and I just felt we were in total control of that game. Craig, with yourself, I mean, what was your thoughts on going down there and going into the game?
I'm always nervous, because anything like football, basically, obviously they showed against Man City, didn't they? Who would have took them to beat Man City?
Aye.
No one, So every team, and they're capable of producing on the day, or the other team has a bad day, so. But the way we are playing and stuff like that, you always think we're going to create chances. So, if we can hopefully just put one of them chances away. I mean, God, I think I screamed that to Tally more than I've ever done before. Throughout the game, we should have had it wrapped up in the first half. We should have had it, done the chances we had. But, I was confident. You look at it. I mean, then you're at the bottom of the league. You look and you think, we should be beating them. But it's one of them where I just wasn't as optimistic as maybe you were, Rainey, and booking your tickets to Wembley and beforehand. So, I just, I think, 1-0 going back home and that, we've got a great result in the end, I think.
Yeah, really good. I mean, first semi-final in years. I mean, how was your nerves going into the game?
We obviously are. Every away game, I sit on the fence because I know it's every away game's difficult, and it's normally how you start the game away from home. And to be honest, we started that game like a house on fire. Again, getting down that right-hand side, putting good balls across. We should have scored early on. And again, we're going, there's these chances again. I mean, Joe Willock blazed the one that landed in my back garden just the other day. And then we had we had a couple of half chances as well, but with Southampton, they had a few signings into the team as well. And is it Alcaraz? Which I thought he was a decent player. Him and I watched them the game before, and I thought, it is, they're getting a little bit of confidence in them. The manager seemed to change things the way they were playing. And I mean, they brought that bloke back, Bednarek, and I was praying he was playing because he's terrible, him. But I just had a feeling it was just going to be one of them cagey, horrible nights. And I thought the pitch was horrendous, by the way. And it looked to me, it was a bit frozen because the pitch seemed to be like really soft on the top, but the ball was travelling dead quick, and it's kind of stopped the way we were playing a little bit. But on the whole, I think first half especially, I think we should have went about 3-0 up.
Yeah,
great start, wasn't it? I mean, just going back to yourself, Craig, when you see this lineup, and a few people mentioned the comments, which we'll touch on later in the second leg. And I thought even in the Crystal Palace game, I don't think ASM came on and did too much, but especially Isaac came on and just looked a little bit more sharper up front. Did you expect any changes going into the Southampton game?
Nah, I think the way he's kind of set up his teams and stuff like that, I didn't really expect it. Obviously, when you look at when Bruno first come, it took him a while to get into the team, what I mean? We're crying out for him. So I had a feeling he would stick with it. To be honest, I've got a feeling he might stick with it. The same one on Tuesday as well. But, and I think because he just, especially away from home, you have a look, 2 great impact players to bring on, you know what I mean? The impact they had obviously was work straight away. The kind of, I think if you've been playing 70 minutes, starting to feel it a bit, and you bring in 2 players on like that, it's kind of, it's 2 great subs to bring, pace, power, 2 real quality players. So, I had a feeling he was going to stick with the same. And like I say, I think he will for Tuesday as well. As much as Isaac was great when he come on, I think he might bring him on as a bit of an impact player again, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Touching on Southampton there, Luke, you mentioned, I think he'll escape the drop. Like Ian mentioned there, a couple of good young players actually on there now. They look confident at times as well. And Hursty, evening, lads. Great show. Thank you so much. If you haven't already as well, please hit that subscribe. As well, just touching on Southampton before we come back to yourself, Ian. I know Son sent us a picture today, just before I went on the first show, with the Southampton coach actually already in Newcastle, crossing the Redriff Bridge about 4 hours ago. So they must be coming up early to prepare and staying in the local area to try. So they're taking it serious, being up this early. And getting back to yourself, Ian, obviously, as you just mentioned there, so a very quick start, a lot of good cracking balls into that box, but I don't know, since this illness, Wilson just hasn't had that little bit of sharpness where he would have been in them boxes in that place to put that ball in the back of the net. But same again, great start, and it kind of ticks on to 20 minutes, it ticks on to 30 minutes. Did you think again it could be one of those nights where we're not going to score?
I think it was. I think Trippier played an absolute smasher across the face, right? And at the start of the season, Callum Wilson would have been on the shoulder of that defender, and he would have tapped it in.
Yeah.
And so I don't. Something's since he's come back from the World Cup, I don't think Callum Wilson's been quite right at all. And when he played that ball in, he didn't react, and he kind of stood still, and he was about four yards away from it. And I thought that's not Callum Wilson. We know that.
No.
But again, you could just feel the frustration getting in. Thinking, God, again. I think Southampton were more dangerous than Crystal Palace, by the way, because I was thinking these will go up the other end and score. When you didn't have that fear factor of the game before, this one I just thought it was on a knife edge. And then obviously when Joe Linton scored the Julius handball, I thought, oh my, this is going to be definitely one of these nights where this is going to go either way. And I thought getting into half time, I thought we definitely had our we didn't have our tails between our legs, definitely not. But I thought we were on the up. And again, it was they had a right good spell second half, and again Nick Pope made a cracking save off
Adams, wasn't it, 1-on-1?
Off Shea Adams, that's right. And I think that was kind of the turning point, because it was starting to get quite a lift off that. And I mean, obviously the substitutions bringing Isaac on and Sir Maximan. Isaac's front play I thought was exceptional when he came on.
Yeah.
Because Callum Wilson kind of played central a lot, and the defender it looked like he was easy marked all the time, and he was quite in his comfort zone. We obviously Isak came on, and he pulled him left and he pulled him right. And then he pulled him right onto that touchline where centre-half does not want to go, by the way. And obviously, great feet, got to the byline. And getting back to what I was saying about creativity through the middle, or anything without Bruno coming through that middle, Joe Linton's, we have not got one of these footballers at our football club that'll do this on a regular basis, as a midfielder running from deep beyond your forward and scoring goals. And I mean, that Joe Linton's attitude again, his desire to get into there, great ball in from Isak, and it was a cracking finish to go 1-up. But again, after that, it was still as much as we were in control. I still thought it could have went either way. And obviously Maximan came on, done his little bits and bobs, and he looked quite sharp and fit. And again, it put a little bit of shakers up them, and I thought when he was direct and good, and when he went through and got tucked down when their kid got sent off, I mean the aftermarks was absolutely tremendous. By the way, I think sometimes something's wrong with Bruno, the way he reacts. I was absolutely melee, and then obviously Jacob Murphy waving the player off. It's football banter, right? That's great, but I was just so glad to get over the line. You just knew it was going to be difficult.
Definitely. And Craig, you're going to be our what we call ref watch for the night. Obviously, Joe Linton the handball goal should have not. Obviously, they missed not long afterwards, but obviously Armstrong scores a minute later, not long after the Newcastle goal. You clearly see it hits his arm and goes in. What was your thoughts on the goal? I mean, I've got to go back to Joe Linton one. The amount of times they've looked at it, but from the wrong side, you're not going to see anything from that side. It's going to be from the goal looking at Joe Linton. It's strange how they look at these goals, isn't it?
It makes you think like you don't know what they're actually looking at. Do you know what I mean? You would think they would be looking at all these goals where what Sky have shown. Because for me, like, it just wasn't. You know, that Joe Linton one wasn't. You can see clearly from the right arm, it's his hip basically from the side. It's just that his arms there, and you know, they've given it. You know, it's which is ridiculous. I can't believe they like overruled the referees. They never overruled the referees. To be honest, I thought looking at it, I thought it would have been an easy one for them. I really did. You know, but we've had how many times, it's not just us, we've had a few decisions against them like that, but I think you have a look at, there's quite a few teams are getting these decisions against them, basically, you know, which are like, they're just easy decisions for them to make, and they're just getting them wrong. You know, it's kind of, it's elite football, and the money that's in it shouldn't really be getting things like that wrong. Like, you know, sometimes you just think, well, go back to old school, just the referee and kind of human error, basically, like. But you know, for me, it was a definite goal, like the Joe Linton one, definite.
And like you say, the Armstrong one, when you look at it now, and I've watched back a few times, it's definitely in slow motion. You can clearly see he's pushed the ball to get that impact and put it in the back of the net, hasn't he?
Well, it changes direction, doesn't it? So it's probably going more towards Nick Pope. Whether he would have got it still, I don't know. But then obviously, it goes on. It goes his hand, and obviously it goes in. You know, I think it's like looking at it, I think it was the right decision. You know, obviously not being biased or anything like that. I do think it was the right decision that got made. Then you know, it's kind of, you know, if that happened to us, you'd be thinking, you wouldn't really be thinking you get it right. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was like. I mean, I wasn't having any celebration like being a Geordie or anything like that. Like after that Armstrong, found it a bit funny. But to be honest, I thought he was a bright spark for them as well. Southampton, like, you know, I expect him. He gave Dan Burn a bit of a trouble at times. Like, you know, he looked lively when he played. So I think, you know, he'll be playing the other night on Tuesday as well. But now for me, about that decision, like, I think they got that one. They got that one right. They got our goal wrong. Theirs right. Like.
Definitely. And Ian, just finally on the game, obviously ASM Isaac come on. I mean, Isaac's turn, his pace, his power to get that ball in the box for Joe Linton to tap in. But MSM as well. I mean, you just look at it, I think Southampton just had two easier times in their own half. And I just think when these two came on, they were just literally running all over. They weren't setting a position. They were playing on the left, they were playing on the right, down the middle. And just Southampton were all over the place. I mean, that when he picks up that ball, ASM in the halfway line, he beats one, he beats two. If you go through, what do you score? We never know. But obviously, he's just bringing them fouls in. The lad gets sent off. And I mean, as you mentioned, the Bruno, the Murphy, the Shithouser, which we absolutely love now at the club. I think it's class to see it. I mean, but them two, they must take a lot of credit for what they've done at that football match to turn that around, mustn't they?
It was great to win the game from the bench. Now, and at times where we've had a great, strong 11, but we've had nothing on the bench. Yeah. So, like, normally it would be Chris Wood, Jacob Murphy.
Yeah.
Or Chris Wood or Ryan Fraser. Do you know what I mean? This time we had Alexander Isak and Alan Saint-Maximin. So, it was great to win from the bench. And the way them two came on and changed the game. I know a lot of people's been crying out for them to start. But if say, for instance, they did start, would Callum Wilson have dragged his centre half out there and done that? Or Jacob Murphy be at the other end? So that's the difference, where you've got quality coming from the bench, and the top sides have all got quality coming from the bench. So if it's not working in your 11, you've got something completely different coming from the bench. And luckily enough, on the night we had two quality players to come on, and that's how we won that football match.
That's it, isn't it? End of the day, yeah. Leon just mentioned he was impressed with that Mara and Adoze from Southampton. I know, like, see, I've never really watched Southampton much. I don't think they've been on Sky that much as well. But when they were going through the list of names, I was like, who's he? Who's he? Who's he? But like I say, it was just kind of good young talent that have gone around pretty much from all over the world. They brought in, and to be fair, some of them did have a great game. It was a clear run, obvious. Took them a long time, wasn't it? Yeah, like, very clear. Obviously, not a handball. Luke, best thing about this transfer is breaking up. I know we touched on it last show. The Wood Murphy sub combo was just one of Eddie Howe's favourite first substitute, wasn't it? The double sub. Nice to see that one ending. Just final question on the game, Craig. Another 10 minutes, obviously down to 10 men. We seem to get at them a lot more, but it would have been nice to nick another goal, because I think if he did play another 10 minutes after that, it could have been 2 or 3, couldn't it?
Oh God, I totally think. I think we had them run ragged at the end. Basically, there was big gaps opening up all over. I think it was just that finishing touch. Do you know what I mean? I think if we could finish at the minute, I think we would have, a bit like what Man U were. They had the game at the, the definitely through there now. Winning 3-0, and Southampton couldn't really complain. I think in the game, if that was to happen. But I do think the longer the game went on, we would have got at least another 1 or 2 anyways. No, but I think with Southampton, I think they'll do the same at our place. I think, what Dave said, they played well. They weren't sitting back or anything like that. They were looking to press us and take the game to us. And I think they'll do exactly the same when they know they've got to, really. They can't just afford to come and sit back and hope maybe it's nick one, because it's going to be a long night for them, for the chances that we'll create and stuff like that. So now they'll come again, mate, and we'll just say, obviously see what happens Tuesday, but going back to your thing, I think the way Isak and obviously Maxim come on when they played, I think would have definitely created more and looked at scoring another, at least if it went on another 10 minutes.
See, it was clever. It was clever with what Eddie Howe did as well, because Walker Peters was getting quite high up on that side, and it was causing us a bit of problems. So what he did was he brought Sir Maximan on, and he knew he was going to put Walker Peters and put him. So he stopped Walker Peters from coming over the halfway line, and Sir Maximan just tore Peters and on the centre half on the inside. So it stopped that threat coming down that side, and it was great decision to bring him on at the time.
Really good.
It was great. It was great to see we still keep on, even though we were 1-0 up, still try and go for the game. Do you know what I mean? Try and get that other goals as well. Could have easily just back, like you say, and just kind of just soak up a little bit of pressure just to hope for that 1-0. Do you know what I mean? But we kept on going for them more goals, and it was it was a cracking game. I was screaming at the telly the whole time, but the frustration, we're missing chances and stuff like that. But now we're kind of, I think that's just the only thing. It's just we're not putting these chances away for all the possession and all these looking at these stats and stuff like that. We're just not getting that ball in the back of the net enough.
See, Eddie Howe will be absolutely going to bed on a night, absolutely loving what he's doing, because he's stat mad. And if our stats are through the roof, he'd be loving that, but he'd be absolutely going, we've just got to get the scoring right, and then he'll be absolutely over the moon, whatever than what he's doing.
Yeah. No, it's looking really good. A couple of questions that's going to come into yourselves in a couple of minutes, lads, obviously about the game on Tuesday night, the lineups, obviously score prediction, which Hersey just mentioned there as well, and also our quick thoughts on the transfer windows. Anybody that's watching, what do you think the lineup will be on Tuesday night? Do you think there will be any changes? What's your score predictions? And just quickly get in also your comments on what you think may happen over the next 2 days, possible transfers coming in and possible transfers going out as well. On that one, I know Hersey mentioned they're happy to be 1-0 up and have that, but I think now in the game of football for Newcastle, if we go 1-0 up, it's always going to play in our advantage, because I fully trust now Eddie Howe. If we go 1-0 up even after 2 or 3 minutes, we could win that game 1-0. He could set up the team to shut shop to win one game, and that's what you've got to do sometimes when you're playing at the top end of the Premier League. But I think that helps as well, because when you are playing, no disrespect against the teams like Crystal Palace or Fulham, when we get that one goal, they kind of just sit back with 10 men behind the ball. They've got to come at us, and that's when we're going to kill teams off. So it's a good thing to have, isn't it?
No, definitely. You just seem to have that balance right, don't we? At the minute, basically, got so much. I mean, it's not like, I don't think we've ever been like this being a Newcastle fan. Never really had such confidence in our defensive, ability. Basically, I think the fact that if we do go 1-0 up, we know teams are going to have to come at we, and the fact, but yet we're still confident that we'll create many chances. I think we've just got that good balance at the minute. For that, he's got it absolutely bang on, to be fair, just the way we're playing. I just think, but I mean, obviously it wasn't 1-0, but the way we played against Arsenal to kind of to get that point, the defender absolutely tremendous, and so we're more than capable of doing that. But yeah, we've still got that thing where we hold the threat going the other way.
Definitely. I know Luke's mentioned there, he's glad that we didn't get more, to be honest, because we pay a bit more attention on Tuesday. If we won 2-0, could see us playing a bit like we did against Sheffield Wednesday. Hopefully not. But yeah, I can totally understand, because like you say, I think Man United, obviously they'll be going to their second leg 3-0 up, thinking, no, it's game over, where fingers crossed, you never know, Nottingham Forest might come back. It would be nice to see him get an early goal, see what happens in that game. But coming back to yourself, Craig, obviously starting with your thoughts going into the second leg, will there be any changes, and are we going to Wembley?
We are going, man. Of course we are. I don't know. Honestly, I've just got a feeling. You know, I know people are crying out for it, but I've got a feeling to stick with the same team. You know, I just think the impact they made from the bench, and I think he'll probably be looking to see how the game goes again and go from that basically. Whether it's, you know, the game's tight and he's looking for that impact again, or, you know, we'll open them up and, you know, we're 1-2-0 up or whatever like that, you know, and then just obviously, again, it's great subs to bring on. You know, it's kind of, you know, you think, you know, the other team must be thinking, oh God, yeah, we've got to put up with these. Like what you just mentioned, Luke did before, the Wood-Murphy combo, you know, and then you've got two different class players coming on really from that. Dave, I made the point as well, would Wilson come on, maybe have the same impact as what Isak does, like, and probably not the fact of like the movement he's got basically, do you know what I mean? If we get the ball in the box, plenty, he might get himself on the end of something, but you know, so for me, I've got a feeling he's going to stick with the same team like that. I'm going to take with score prediction. I think we'll win 2-0.
And yourself, Ian, obviously, are we going to Wembley? What's the score, and what's your thoughts on the lineup?
I agree with Craig. I think you'll stay with the same. You've got to remember we haven't been beat. Mm-hmm. So again, it's like, don't try to fix something that's not broken. The most important thing for Tuesday is that we start well, and I would love us to really take the game to the scruff of the neck and score in about 10 minutes, because I think my worry is if we don't score early on, that the crowd gets a little bit nervy, because you know yourself, if St James's Park's nervy, they'll go quiet and then they'll start. Do you know what I mean? And then hopefully the players may feel a little bit, and then the game could kind of turn on a knife edge. You know what I mean? Because 1-0 is a funny score, but if we score early on, I think we'll win comfortably. I really do. I think. I don't think they'll be able to handle the occasion. If we score early, I think we'll go on and win 3-0. The longer the game goes on, we don't score, I think it's going to be a horrible night. But hopefully, like I say, if we score early on, and I don't think we'll be able to cope with any of them what we can give them.
Definitely. I mean, that's my prediction. I was going to go with a 3-0. I just think going into St James's Park, I mean, I'll be through early on Tuesday, and I think it's just the atmosphere. It's going to be something different to what we've seen. I mean, probably look back at that Arsenal game towards the end of our last home game of the season before, where we were singing like rocking all over the world, like 25 minutes before kick-off. St James's Park was like absolutely bouncing, and I just think that's what it's going to be like on Tuesday night going into the game. And I just think you see away teams come out like Arsenal and they just shrunk. And I think if we get that early goal, and then, like you say, when we bring the likes of Isaac and ASM late, when Southampton's getting tired, that space, and hopefully kicking downhill that second half, we can really push on and punish Southampton. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we do as well. Getting on to transfers now, and I think it's been quite interesting, because I think a lot of fans, like myself, were expecting 1 or 2 signings quite early in the window, just to say, right, this is what we are, this is what we can do. But I think it's quite sensible the way that the owners are going about it. They're not just chucking money at it for the sake of it. They are really sensible. They're looking at the long-term plan with the young players that's coming in as well. I mean, off the top of my head, I think we look the likes of Maddison, Ashby from West Ham as well, possibly coming in. And then I think looking at, tomorrow and even Tuesday, the squad that we're going to be kind of putting out with quite interesting with players that could potentially leave. I know the whole chairman's kind of came out and said the Darlow deal's pretty much done. 1 goalkeeper going out. Gillespie's not in the 25-man squad. He might as well go. And like you say, you've got the likes of Mankio, Lewis, who's not going to get a game. Obviously, Target will be back soon. Craft will be back soon to cover them full-back positions. Then you go into midfield, the likes of Shelby, people like that. And then obviously, like you say, there's Fraser. I mean, you forget about him as well. The players that's being linked with moves away. What's your thoughts on with the last couple of days of the transfer end of Craig? And do you think there will be any more players in and any players leaving?
I think I think we could get some leaving, definitely, like, and rightly so as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's moving them on and obviously creating space to get, in time, more players coming through the door, basically. I mean, God, you named the kind of list there. Do you know what I mean? Of players who are going or should be going and stuff like that. There is, like, quite, when you look at it, like, quite a bit of dead wood there, really. Do you know what I mean? That does need to be shifted on so we can start strengthening this squad. But the transfer window, it's crazy, isn't it? And like the fact that, see, we've got all this money now, no one's ever going to say, like, they're not just going to be happy with the first bid we've got, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. What we value, they're just going to play all the time. And a lot of clubs do that. If you know, obviously, it's like anything, they make it a month, the transfer window, but all the signings get done on the last day of the window, it can't down to the very last minute, times in seconds. They should just have a transfer day, to be honest, you know what I mean? And just, that should be it. But I think potentially, I mean, a bit like Bruno, when we signed Bruno, that literally come out of nowhere. So it wouldn't surprise me if we bring someone in out like that we weren't expecting, like a good name or anything like that. Still think we've got that, we're capable of doing that, basically.
Yeah, that'd be really good. And Ian, just your thoughts on the transfer ending. Do you think Maddison might be flown in at half time in a helicopter, centre stage, half time? Imagine that.
I wouldn't have thought Maddison will be joining us in January. I mean, I think Chelsea's open talks up with him. That Enzo thingy over there again for the 120 million. So that may open the door for Conor Gallagher to come out on loan, which I'll be absolutely over the moon with him. Because obviously Shelvey going to Nottingham Forest, that looks probably done, that, by the way. So I still think we're a little bit weak through that middle. So to get somebody like that just on loan till the end of the season, so we can have a look again in the summer. But if you have a look at the signings that Eddie House made, they're all young players now. What he's brought in, obviously Ashby's 21-year-old, so that's a good thing. He's buying for the future, not just for now. Gordon's a fantastic sign. Young kid, absolutely raw. Got great pace. He's got great ability. He's a shithouse, and I love players like that on my teams. Horrible players to play against, but who cares now because he's ours. And
like I mentioned. I was saying, like I mentioned in the messages, Dave, with that, like, it's one of them players, who you hated to play against, like, you'd want to kick them all the time, but people when in your team, you absolutely love the work rate they put in and the way they go on, that obviously, he said in his interview that, he'll do whatever he needs to do to win, and they're the type of players he wants. And for me, I didn't really know much of him till Newcastle played them last year when we played Everton. I think when we beat them 3-1, and he was the standout player for Everton. For me, like, good player, so I think he's an absolute cracking signing, especially when you look at what money goes around these days. 40 million, really, young lad, and we'll get some good years out of him. It could be really good business, really, for Newcastle. That
definitely, there's been some cracking pictures, hasn't there, of them? Obviously meeting Shaw after the head-to-head, and Nick Pope and Trippier after the home game. I don't know how they capture them, but some cracking pictures being on the site there.
See, the good thing about our signings now, though. They're not brought in just to make money on. They're actually here for the future, to make our football team and our football club better. So bringing these 21-year-olds in for 40 million or whatever, the future's just going to start now. They're not even in their prime. So if they're going to be at Newcastle United when they're in their prime, that's even better for us.
Yeah, definitely really good. A couple of comments coming on there before we go as well. Leon, I would say put ASM and Isaac in at the start, but we all know it's going to be an unchanged line-up. Played really well for the transfer. I think Maddison, it's just a hope from fans, but seeing on Twitter rumours of Alaves from Ajax. Luke's going for 0-0. We'll take it. If that gets us to Wembley, we'll take it. Hursty having the weekend off, resting will only help us, definitely. Like I just mentioned there, I've just heard someone just messaged saying they've just seen the Southampton bus going across the edge of Bridge about 3 hours ago, so they must be up here looking at training, obviously not doing the travel on the day before, which is quite a sensible thing.
They must have seen the win for tomorrow night, or they wouldn't have gotten out of the red juff because it would have been shut.
But he's mentioned obviously Southampton played in the FA Cup but rested a few players, and I think it's because they'll have to beat us, like you say, to leave that space, and they're not open gaps for us to get into as well. Darlow was confirmed a couple of days ago. Yeah, it was a strange one that, like I say, they just seemed to come out. Hull and confirmed it, and nothing really from the Newcastle end. But I don't know why. I think he wants to play him as backup goalkeeper tomorrow night, and then the deal's kind of done, which is quite interesting. Percy's going for 2-1. Wembley bound enough that the ticket office lottery begins. I've heard, I don't know. I've heard different rumours of how many tickets fans are going to get, and it's not very much per team. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a lottery, that one.
I've seen 30,000. Is that right?
Around that, yeah, and that's not good. Definitely
no,
not.
You need 130 for us.
Definitely. Percy Ziyech on loan. Yeah, that could be really interesting. Like you say, I think tomorrow it just seems to, like Craig mentioned there, you'll have one player that makes that move, and because that one player's gone to that club, that one opens a move to that club, and it's just really interesting how much it just changes so much. And I think we'll be visiting tomorrow and Tuesday as well. Instead of the cam roll, what about a defensive midfield and moving Bruno forward? Yeah, like I say, a few people's mentioned obviously Bruno kind of moving forward. I think the only thing with Bruno, when the back four's got the ball, he's that player who wants that ball into his feet and turn, and he starts to play off. Where I just don't think unless we bring in someone else, to say with the same quality, will be the same type of player in there as well.
You're on about Bruno there being a 8 or a 10. Now for his national team, he doesn't play like that. He plays right of the. If he comes on, he play like right of Casemiro or right of Fred. So Newcastle United still asking him to play in a position where he's not used to playing, because he played for Lyon there as well. So I think Bruno got himself carried away a little bit with him scoring goals. For me, you need a proper 10. I don't think Bruno's a 10. I think he's a kind of in between a holder and not like a central midfielder, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, he's absolutely fantastic player. But as a 10 in that, I just think you would lose that protection, because he's what I think is when he's got a hold of the ball and he uses his body brilliantly to protect the ball when we're playing across the lines. I don't think you'd do that in a 10 role.
Definitely,
because it's like a De Bruyne in a 10 role or someone like that. There's two completely different players, I think.
That's it, isn't it? Luke's mentioned the allocation is 35,000. We have 30k season ticket holders, up from 1,500. So fingers crossed, I might get my ticket. I know. Like I say, the train's booked. Has planned his route, everything. He's really looking forward to it. And Luke has just mentioned there he wants to play as an 8 in his interview. Said it a few times, but we have to play him in a 6. And like you say, he just needs to keep playing as a 39. But yeah, honestly. But no, lads, Craig, Ian, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Absolute pleasure. And the comments that's been coming all night, absolutely fantastic. Really nice to go through the comments live in the show as well. Keeps the flow going. I know Megan Ian's there on Tuesday night. We're going to try and put something in the group tomorrow night to come where we're going to be standing just before kind of going in our turnstile. Hope we get a few fans come along, because I want to try and get a little video vlog of their night. Obviously, giving people's comments before the game, myself and Ian possibly at half time as well. Really interesting sign to get some people. So we'll put on where we're going to be standing just before kick-off as well and pop round and see us. That'll be really good. But yeah, Craig, Ian, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and enjoy the rest of your night as well.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, pal.
And enjoy the game Tuesday.
Bye.